Welcome, everyone, and thank you for listening to the Hire Calling Podcast. I'm Pete Newsome, and this is your source for all things hiring, staffing, and recruiting. Ricky, how are you today?
I am doing amazing, Pete. I'm never
You are,
not doing not amazing. You know that.
you're never not doing not amazing. That's a lot of negatives in there. So you're
I'm using it.
always you're always doing amazing.
I'm always, even when I'm not. Ever seen Scarface?
I have. It's been
Ever
a
seen
while.
Scarface? One of my favorite lines in that movie for the kids out there listening who don't know, watch that movie. One of my favorite lines is at the restaurant towards the end when he's like, you know what? You need people like me. I always tell the truth even when I lie. That is one of the best lines I've heard. I love it. That's how sure Tony Montana was.
That's I like it. I like it. All right,
So
good.
I don't know what that's got to do with recruiting, but it just came to my mind. Sorry about that.
It has absolutely nothing to do with recruiting, but
Nothing.
that's okay.
It's all right.
That's okay. All
So
right.
so your Monday, how's your Monday going so far?
It's going well, primarily because the weekend went really well. I have my FSU shirt on,
Mm.
representing as if I don't have enough FSU stuff in the background already. But it's a special day. We just won our first game of the season after an 0 and too many that I want to
Oh
mention out
yeah.
loud start, and it was
Yeah.
Parents Weekend, so we were there for it. I have
Nice.
yeah, my daughter's a senior there, and my son's a sophomore, so it was a good weekend. A little too much partying and up at the college campus, but all was well. Yeah.
A
So
little bit too much partying in Tallahassee? I've never heard such a thing, Pete.
yeah, it was back to my. I was acting younger than I should probably, but
Yeah.
that's okay. That's okay. A good time was had by all. I will say that.
Well, I will
Um,
be there. I will be there in November for that Miami FSU game, so I cannot
good.
wait to go back up there. So
Two teams that are not at their peak
no,
this
no.
year are playing, so
That should be fun.
that's okay. Yeah, it's better than not being there. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
right.
Well, cool. So look, there's a lot going on in the world of staffing right now, and one of those things that continues to we continue to hear more about is artificial intelligence. So why don't we talk about that today?
Absolutely. Actually, I was looking at the Four Corners Resources website over in the blog section, and we actually blogged about it last.
What a coincidence that we have a blog
Real big
that
coincidence.
came out on it. Wow,
Yeah.
that was very subtle, but yes.
You know me. Yeah, very subtle kind of guy. Yeah, no, I was looking through it, Pete, and it's I got to tell you, I've been doing this for a while, and I am one of those that whenever I see something come out that it revolutionizes a specific field, in the back of my mind, I can't help not to think that is this something that's going to take my job as a recruiter? And I'm pretty sure that's on a lot of people's minds. And I would venture to guess, Pete, that every time something like this happens in any field, a lot of people are going to be thinking that same thing. For example, the iPod. When the iPod first came out or the iPhone first came out, people had their music at their palm of their hands. And I'm pretty sure people who are DJs, people who do weddings, they started thinking, oh, is that going to take over? But it's proven that it hasn't. So I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm sorry, but I just went down that rabbit hole as far as the human aspect from a recruiter when it comes to artificial intelligence and recruiting. So we'll get to that.
Yeah. There's of course truth to the potential for technology to take jobs or
Mhm.
replace jobs. In this case, the jury is very much out on whether that could ever happen in the world of recruiting. And I don't think. Well, I feel very confident that it's not going to happen anytime soon. That's for sure. Uh, how prevalent it is, in the space right now is, yeah, I would say not very. And the reason is because I don't think that there's a lot of solutions out there that are truly artificial intelligence. I think
Mm.
there's things that claim to be artificial intelligence, but that's vastly different than what I see as automation tools. I think there's products and solutions that are based on if-then statements
Yep.
that will guide events down a specific path. But true artificial intelligence is something, again, altogether different. So let's talk about the pros and cons of what's available today
Okay,
and see if we can come up with a consensus for what we think um,
perfect.
is really going on right now.
So so let's start with this, Pete. From now, you started this company about 16 years ago, right? So you obviously know what you're doing. So I'll throw this out there for everybody. So, what are the two things recruiters are measured on? So the
Hiring.
well,
I mean,
I mean, yeah, hiring, right?
you
But
know, candidate quality for sure. I'm going to let you answer it because you have something in mind. I think recruiters are measured on many more than two things, but go on and
main
answer.
things. I mean, obviously hiring, right? But it's they can't take too long in hiring that one perfect person because business still needs to continue and the job still needs to be done. So, in my experience, the two things that recruiters are held accountable to is time to fill a position and the quality of the hire they have in that position. Right.
Sure.
And when it's without any artificial intelligence, without any type of apps or any algorithms to help a recruiter out, um, a lot of people think, and this is in my previous life, Pete. A lot of people think, especially a business partner, that when it's time to bring somebody into the organization, that the recruiter has all this time in the world to review one resume, right? They think they got hours and hours and looking at a resume to make sure we got the right person. And of course, that's a fallacy, right? Because normally, 9 times out of 10, when I was a recruiter around 10 years ago, somebody gave me a call telling me that somebody retired two months ago. I never knew about it, and they need me to find somebody for them today. Not yesterday, not in a week from now, today. I don't have a job description. So anyway, you times that by, I don't know, five, six, seven, even 10 other business partners, the recruiter's job can be really challenging at that point. I mean, have you seen something like that?
Yeah, except what you're describing is corporate recruiting, right?
Correct.
When you're
Correct.
talking
Yeah.
about business partners, yeah, that is, you come from the corporate world of that,
Yeah.
where now that you're in the staffing world, time and speed are always a factor, a huge factor in what we're doing, and I would say significantly more so than even in the corporate world, right? So where you didn't have time then, we have even less, I think, on the staffing side,
Mm.
because what we do is competitive. When you're the home team, as you are as a corporate recruiter, you sort of have an exclusive situation,
Yeah.
at the end of the day. Where for us, we're replaceable. Yeah, we have to earn our keep, every step of the way. So I know this is off topic, but I do think about that, from time to time. That time is measured relatively, depending on your perspective, depending on your situation. And for us, it is always at the forefront of what we do, as is quality. So bringing this back to your point, speed and efficiency, while relative, are necessary in every recruiting scenario, as is quality, right? It has to be there. And so I agree with you that those two things, if you were only counting two, that those would be it. Yes.
Well, so it's as time continues on and technology evolves, more programs, more artificial intelligence comes to the limelight to kind of help people to be more efficient, and it keeps getting more and more and more and more efficient. Even when you get to the point that when a new program comes out, as soon as you finally watch hours of YouTube videos for you to figure out how it works, it's already outdated. A new one already came out. It keeps evolving, but it's happening with recruiting right now because what artificial intelligence does in the recruiting world, specifically for recruiting right now, is it helps on that first aspect of where a recruiter is measured on, which is time to fill. So what is artificial intelligence and what does it do into the in the recruiting space? So I'll go first if that's okay, Pete.
Sure.
So what it does, from what I have seen, it automates a lot of those little tiny intricacies that a recruiter has to do to make sure that he or she has the right person on deck to be interviewed. right? So artificial intelligence comes in. Exactly how you said, it is an algorithm. It is geometry, where if X happens, then you do Y, right? If you don't have one part of the variable, the other one does not. Where like anything technology driven, you have to have that kind of an algorithm. AI for recruiting is no different, right? If you're looking for a specific skill set, and somebody puts in a resume, you want to look for specific words and specific areas of expertise that actually pops it up. They can bring it to the screen of a recruiter in a matter of seconds, whereas in the absence of that technology, it might take quite some time to go through a lot of resumes to get that in a few seconds. So, from a time perspective, I get that. I really do get it. Have you seen that before?
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So there is this a time saving, and we can call it AI, right? But if
I keep calling that. I know.
automation, and that you just look at our own internal database at Four Corner Resources. We have somewhere around 500,000 resumes in our database. We have to pull them out somehow.
Yeah.
So we use keywords. We use technology to draw those out. Similarly, if you go to LinkedIn or Indeed or any of the online job boards to try to pull resumes down from there and do isolate your candidate pool, right? You want to
Yeah.
narrow your search, then yes, of course you want to use those tools that are available, and um, that there's a time saving, you know for sure. I think the AI claim that's made by some of the vendors out there is that you put in these words, that you define your criteria, if you will, and that their tool will go out into the world of the internet or specific job boards and be intelligent enough to pull in only the candidates you want. And that's where I would say it's better than nothing, for
Yeah.
sure, but it's not quite as intelligent as you would think, because it's just identifying words on a resume, which can be you know placed there without necessarily accuracy in
Yeah.
terms of the skill set or the qualifications of the individual. And so it's an yes, but it's a they save time and they do create efficiency in the process, for sure.
And it cuts out on biases as well, right? Whereas the human eye has, well, actually, not just the human eye, just a human in general, right? It's all humans in general have some kind of a bias, whether it's good or bad, right? What makes it bad is whether we act on them or not, right? And some of those biases are unintentional, or God, what's the word I'm looking for?
Unconscious.
Unconscious bias. Yes, thank you, sir. Yeah.
Sure.
So
Sure.
a lot of those biases are unconscious bias, and it's look. I'm no doctor, and I don't claim to be a doctor or any kind of a scientist for that matter. So I'm stepping out on a limb here to say that the human brain will have a hard time competing with any kind of an algorithm to make sure they select a specific person and not have that many biases, right? Because the human eye, the human brain has a tendency to relate to people that they like, that are people that are like them. Right now, I have studied that. So, and that's how you turn an unconscious bias into an conscious one. If you know that, and you have to really understand that piece to make sure that you're not using that bias to make a selection. Where AI comes in, it eliminates that. So from a legal perspective, and again, I'm not a lawyer neither, there's a lot of things I'm not, Pete. Right? So from a legal perspective, I can understand how this would be something that this would make any legal department in any large organization extremely happy, because if in case they get challenged, they can say, look, our recruiter isn't the one that's discriminatory. I guess it's our our software, if that's the case, right? So
Well,
if
depending on what the software is programmed to do,
true,
right? That could be
true.
good or bad. So Amazon, in a few years ago, I know had a tool that they were using for this very purpose, and they found that it was biased. It was favorable towards men,
Mm,
and it was looking for people. I'm yeah, don't quote me on this exactly, but I believe they found was that they wanted to find people in the IT space who had more experience versus less, which would make sense. And because men, are there are more men in IT, then it was slanted towards men. So it was a self perpetuating situation, I believe, where it was biased against women, which was not the intention of Amazon. Of course, it was just the way the program was working, and so they stopped it. But the software is only going to be as good as what it was programmed to be,
Yeah.
and that's where as a professional recruiter, which is to say someone whose product is a person, right? I mean, that's what a recruiter has, right, as their product. It really, and so unlike you know a t-shirt, if you're selling shirts, right, the shirt is just the shirt, right?
Yeah.
It's contained, it's the size, it's the material, it's the quality of the stitching, whatever it might be, the color. But you can't replicate a person. You can't what there's limitless variables when it comes to individuals. So to rely on a machine, right, or a computer program to make assessments of a person beyond what's on a resume, right? You can identify words on a resume. That's the cover of a book, and I've probably said that before on this podcast. That's all it is. That I can't make any determination on the individual whose resume it is based on the resume itself. I can
Correct.
pick it out of a pile based on the frequency of words that are used on it, a degree, a certification, a past employer, whatever it might be. But that's it. So it's very surface level information that I can gather that way, which it to me does nothing more than just give you it thins the pile that you need to look through at best.
And this is why I'm in this position where I'm comfortable in saying that I like the AI function in the recruiting world, but only as a tool, and not as a deciding factor, right? So because yes, it is a tool that can help a recruiter do his or her job a lot faster, more efficient, better quality. But exactly how you said, it's a book. So from what I'm reading and from what I have seen in the past, AI shows you great books that you might like, but it's up to you to actually read the book, take a deeper dive into that book to see if you actually would like that book, right? Because the book gets presented to you based on information that the system knows about you, right? Just to make sure that based on that data being put in there, um, uh, they are presented to you. So that's why I like the combination of artificial intelligence with a skilled recruiter, because a skilled recruiter is able to take this AI function and use it to his or her advantage to make sure we got the right person at the right time way faster than had AI not existed. But it cannot be a deciding factor. It's got to be a tool. Another great example, Pete, is because AI can actually in recruiting can look at a resume. If you're saying I want somebody that has a master's degree and a PhD, yeah, AI can find that for you. Look, this person has a PhD from Cornell or a PhD from MIT or whatever. Fine, but all an education is that this person has the tools to perform the job. It's not until you get to the interview and you select that person to bring them in when you find out if how they're using that skill set they learned in school. And I don't think AI can capture that, right? That's when you need that skilled recruiter to make sure they ask the right question from a human perspective to make sure we get the right person for the role.
Yeah, absolutely. There's it's a tool, right? Like any tool, it needs to be used for the right tool needs to be used for the right job. But the person using the tool, the person, right, the
Yeah.
human using the tool is going to make the difference ultimately on how effective the tool can be applied. So I think we're on the same page there. That it it's helpful. right? But it's not the end of the recruiting profession, by far. Now, can it ever be, right? That's what we started talking about at the beginning of this episode. Do we see a path where that could ultimately happen, do you think?
You know what? Technology evolves, and technology has been evolving forever, right? As soon as somebody invented the wheel, that's technology. It's just prehistoric technology. What happens is that as technology evolves, how much time it takes for it to evolve, it gets shorter and shorter and shorter, right?
Right.
So for me to say, based on previous history, that it may not happen, I think that it's a little bit short sighted from my part. But Pete, I never thought we would ever live in a world where you could just hit cruise control or whatever control on a fully electric car, and it takes you from point A to point B without you ever touching the wheel or anything like that. And we have that today. Now, of course, I'm talking about Tesla, Tesla, right? But even then, because I've been in one before, if you do that, it kind of tells you still got to pay attention, right? Because at the end of the day, this thing makes mistakes, right? So we're in a world where we have autonomous vehicles. So I don't know, man. I really think it's gonna come a time, from my perspective, it's just me being worried that, yeah, I really think in about 10, 15 years there could be a fully functional Android type of a recruiter. Skynet, man, is happening. I'm
Yeah,
telling you.
I'm going to reject that idea.
Okay. I got it.
Again, because the with the car scenario, there is ultimately a finite number of decisions that you're looking for that car to make.
Yeah.
What's near it, what's in front
Mhm.
of it, what's speed. Yeah, I mean, it's impressive technology. There's no doubt about it,
Yeah.
and I look forward to the day when we can drive and just sit back and not have to do any of the work.
Grab a
That'll
taco,
be
you
great.
know? Yeah.
That'll be great. And I've driven, it exists now, right? It's there. But I will go back to what I said earlier. People are vastly different than anything else you could be talking about. And I want, I'm not going to trust that things like tone and drive and motivation and how agreeable someone is, how friendly someone is. Those are things that I I don't know that I want to live in the world where the computer, where a machine is assessing those things for us. Now, can it happen? Sure, in theory, but I don't. I don't know how that I would ever want to put my faith and trust in a computer making decisions about you know you know soft skills and personality traits. Because look at it this way: now you may as well let the computer pick out your spouse, right? If that's the case, because why not? If I mean the same things would apply, right? I mean, not that having a life partner is the same as hiring an employee and or an employee choosing to be hired, but it's probably the next closest thing if you think
But
about it.
but that exists today though, right? I mean, aren't there apps that if you swipe one way or another, that means they match somebody to you? Like one of those dating sites. Obviously, at the end of the day, you have the ultimate deciding factor whether you want to go out with that person or not, and of
Well, yeah,
course, it's going to be
yes, I
mutual.
mean, that's a big gap that you
Yeah,
can't just be dismissive of.
yeah.
You get to choose, whether to swipe or not, whatever that is. I mean, no different than here's what's on the menu. Pick what you want. The restaurant is determining that based on whatever criteria they've applied. This is what's going to be on their menu, right? What's available for for food in their local market, what the cuisine is going to be. And we're way off topic with this, but um
No, but you know what? But hold on, Pete. You. I don't know if you meant to do this or not, but you just gave an amazing example of why AI and a live recruiter should work together, right? And that's what's crucial, that why that partnership is there, Because exactly how you said, they give you all the options. You have the ultimate deciding factor on who you want to go with based on what the options in front of you. They don't check it for you. Same thing with AI for recruiting. Based on the parameters you put in place into the system, they show it to you. But at the end of the day, that skilled human recruiter, I can't believe I have to say human in there, that skilled recruiter is the one who makes a selection to move forward. So yes, I think you're making an awesome case on how both of those worlds can work well together.
Yeah, I mean, so I think the way recruiting is done, and this is not for today, where it's because it's too lengthy of a conversation, but the the resume itself is somewhat antiquated.
Mhm.
It hasn't really evolved much in many decades. Job descriptions, same thing. They don't necessarily represent how hiring is done when it's done right, because at Four Corner, and we're not the only ones who do this, but I think we're the leader in doing this. We look beyond the job description and want to have an actual conversation with the human who's doing the
Yeah.
hiring and is going to be managing those individuals to say, tell me who you want. Describe what the right fit is based on your, of course, the skill set that's needed and experience or background that's needed, but also the soft skills, where I think that's what makes a difference between a successful hire and one that's not. And we take the same approach with candidates. Tell me, what kind of opportunity you want, what's important to you in that opportunity for your life. Not yet, yes, it's your career, but if you think about it, that's just a part of the bigger picture of this is what matters to in your life. From, the are you in the office, are you working at home, what's your commute like, what are your hours, what's
Yeah.
the environment that you're going to be working in, what are the growth opportunities, what's the compensation. So all of those things aren't really to be found on either a job description or a resume. And
Yeah.
so that, to me, as much as anything else, where I see a big failure in relying on, I'll even say AI. I don't want to call it that because I will still contend that it's not really artificial and it's not
Yeah.
intelligent. It's just a program that's being applied in what's commonly available on the market today. So I kind of reject that it's more than just a way to screen and sort through resumes efficiently to let the humans do their work. And you know, if you timestamp this and look in 30 years and say, wow, you really sound foolish now, maybe, right? Maybe, but
You don't know.
um
Yeah.
like I said, I don't think I want to live in that world,
Yeah, me
where
neither.
machines are matching us up, for anything that's important. And that's certainly what we're talking about here, something very important.
I agree with you there. I don't think I ever want to live in that world neither. It's but it's we just have to make sure that as a recruiter, we just have to make sure that we still use the tools that are there, but we have the ultimate deciding factor, right? And we have to make sure that we still from a staffing perspective, that we do what's best for our clients, which we do. From a corporate perspective, we do what's best for our business partners, which people do. And you know what, Pete? We do something here at Four Corner Resources that I wish I would have known in corporate America. And one of the things that I wish I would have known back then is what we do as far as building a profile for a candidate, right? Reaching out, talking to a candidate, not have any specific job in mind, but we know that skill sets are hot. Let's make sure we build that profile and we build that ourselves by actually going out and calling people, right? Um, we don't do that in corporate America, right? Because in corporate America is we need a requisition, a position. We open up a rec, we got to go find that person. And what we do here, we actively are looking for skill sets that we don't need right now, but we're going to need later on. But you build that relationship, the human to human relationship that I don't think AI is ever going to replicate later on. I don't think that's ever going to happen from an AI perspective.
No, especially when you're trying, what you're describing is you're trying to fit the the person, the resume, right? It's not even a person at that point, into the job opening. where we really reject that way of matching. We want the candidate to tell us as much as they can about what it is they want before we introduce this specific job, because everything's going to be skewed. Talk about bias,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If I tell you this is the only job I have, and then I ask you if you're interested in that job, and you need a job, you're
What are you gonna say,
gonna,
right?
yeah, your answers are not going to be they're not going to be pure. And so we don't want to taint the situation anymore. Period. We don't want to taint what comes next. So that is uh, something that you're right. Corporate recruiting generally doesn't have the luxury of doing, because it's really not, it's just a piece of the overall corporate structure, where in our world that is all we do.
Yeah.
So back to our candidates being our product, yeah, we better make sure we're doing the best that we possibly can, to take care of them and to represent them in the best possible way. So that means taking those extra steps that it's just not practical in the corporate world. And then that's the purpose we serve. So that's why we exist.
So from
Yeah,
an
that's
AI perspective, so what we're saying, I think you and I are in agreement here, Pete, is that yeah, it's good to have that extra set of hands, but at the end of the day, the human being is king. The human being still needs to make a decision on other factors that you just can't replicate from a machine or a computer to make sure this is the right person for that right role. I mean, that's what
without
I'm hearing.
question. Without question. So we'll
Yep.
we'll come back in a few years, see if we are still there. I think we will be, at least for many years to come.
Look, I I really hope this relationship keeps going, Pete. But let me tell you, man, if I'm still here in 30 years, I'm gonna pull this video back up. I'm gonna put this podcast back up. I'm like, you remember when you said this? Yeah. Uh-huh. Look at that. Now they're telling us what to do. I go to McDonald's and they're just giving me my order just based on what I ordered before. No, don't even give me the opportunity to choose. So
Yeah,
that's what I
I
see
don't
this.
think there's not a single story where the robots take over and it ends well for humans, right?
No,
So
it's not.
hopefully we cut it off before it gets there. And
Uh,
so,
I hope so
and
too.
speaking of cutting off, let's cut this today. I think we've gotten to where we're gonna land, which is good to use technology,
Yep.
of course. Take advantage of the automation tools that exist today, and even the ones that claim to be AI, but don't rely on them
That's right.
to do the job of the recruiter no time soon.
That's right. And folks, obviously, it's we're in that space, right? AI is not going to take over. We still got human recruiters. So if you are somebody who needs top-notch recruiting services, if you want to find the right person for the right role, come find us. We are at fourcornerresources.com, where you can call us 407-872-1521, or if you have any topic you want us to hear, any questions you want to hear on the show, hire calling at fourcornerresources.com. Give us a like in your favorite podcast platform. We are everywhere. Just look for Four Corner Resources. Actually, no, excuse me. Just look for the Higher Calling podcast. Go ahead and download us. Give us a like. Let us know how you feel about the show or any topics you want to see. We would greatly appreciate it.
We'd love to hear from you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, folks. Have a good one. Drive safe and good night.